Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is Ironclad. Ironclad is a game for 1 to 3 players in which you will control a spaceship called the Ironclad. The spaceship will go on a series of missions that you will have to succeed, and like certain parameters for each mission that you're sent on, and you will have to keep your crew alive. You have to keep your crew happy. You will have to make sure that you earn enough money to keep your heroes paid, and so you can actually have them go along with you. And along the way, you're going to have a lot of different bad things happen. I mean, not all bad. There are things. There are good random encounters and there are bad random encounters. They remind me a lot. There's lots of aspects of this game that remind me a lot of different things. This is a game where you go to a place and something happens, and so it's got a reveal moment where it's like, okay, I went here and now I turn this card or this token over, and then now I got to deal with whatever that token tells me. I played lots of these games, and it's kind of throwbacky, if you will, to an older style of game. This is a game of dice, and it's a game of luck, and it's a game of chance, and it's a game of a narrative story. And these are the types of games that I really, really, really like. It is for 1, 2, or 3 people. In my opinion, it works best as a solo game. That does not mean that it is not fun with more people at the table, but this isn't. It is a cooperative game. It is a cooperative experience, but this is not a game where each person is taking a turn. Like cooperative games, a lot of times they're it's like, okay, you do your thing. Okay, now it's my turn. I'll do my thing. Okay, you do your thing. This is a game where all 3 people sit there and discuss and decide what, or 2, if you're gonna play with 2, you all decide, okay, I think this is the best decision for us to go. We should go and do this. And there is no one person who says that determines whatever. It's it's a mutual decision. They decide together and you go ahead and do it. And because of that, like I said, it just seems to work better as a solo game. I mean, and I say that saying that I did play this game with my daughter with a 2-player game. I played it with a couple of buddies who came over, and we enjoyed it a great deal. However, I found the most enjoyment personally. If I enjoyed it this much with my daughter and my buddies, I enjoyed it this much, when I played it by myself. And I could see this game being a part of my solo games, the games that when a rainy day outside, I got nothing going on, and I want to do something and I want to play some board games. This is a game that I drag out and I play. But I'll talk more about that in my conclusion. Let me give you kind of an overview of how the game is played, and then we'll come back here and I'll talk more about that. All right, cool. Okay, as I said, Ironclad is a campaign-based game. So I have set up the first adventure of the campaign. Now, I don't have the full campaign available because this is a prototype, so I don't know exactly how and when this is going to end or what the story eventually tells me. But I did enjoy the parts that I had. And the game does tell you how to set up the board for each one. They give you a bunch of these tiles that have the ubiquitous hexagons that you're going to use for space exploration. Just once, and it's nothing against Ironclad at all. The hexagon is here and it's here to stay. But at some point, I would like to play a space exploration game that used, I don't know, something different. But regardless, so you set it up. Each one of these locations has something that is there as well, like solar flares. But also, you're going to be placing these intel tokens, and the campaign will tell you which intel tokens to use. So it kind of gives you an idea of the possibility of what you might run into. But due to the fact that they're all over the place and you have no idea where they are because they're randomly placed, you don't know exactly which adventure you're going to discover. Which, and I'll talk about this later in my final thoughts. But that is one of those things that even though this is yeah, okay, I know what this part of the campaign is, because of the fact that it is a kind of a random setup. You can't count on the same things happening each time. And then also you place these planets in those locations. And at the very beginning, it doesn't matter so much, but different planets will have different factions that are like in charge of them. And as the game proceeds and the campaign proceeds, you will take actions that will either make certain factions like you or make certain factions hate you. And so certain planets will welcome you with open arms, and other planets will welcome you with a barrel pointed at your face. So you kind of have to roll with the punches. And that's another thing too. You could play the campaign one way one time and then play it the other way the other time and see what happens. Something cool to think about. But regardless, I'm kind of jumping a little bit ahead because I want to talk a little bit about what you're seeing here, but I just want to talk about how I've gone ahead and set that up, and I'll talk about the campaign here also in a brief moment. All right, so this is your Ironclad. This is your ship. And all of these, like the functions and the abilities and the powers of your ship, and this is, like I said, a prototype, so just, please bear with me as far as that is concerned. But they have, you have the different parts of the ship that are important, like the bridge and the weapons and what have you that you need to use. The turn timer will be set up, and it'll tell you how many turns. Like the opening campaign is a 10-turn campaign, so you only have a certain amount of time, and like the campaign, and I'll talk about it, but basically you start here and you need to make it to here or here, and depending upon which way you're going to roll, but you'd think, well, that's pretty easy, you just keep moving, but along the way you're going to have combats and you're going to take damage, and most likely you're going to have to stop and repair and things like that. And also there's little side quests and fun things that you can do that are going to be well worth it, because remember, it's a campaign, so things that you get as far as bonuses will carry on in following adventures. But then you have several different things. You have morale. Morale is important because it determines how many actions you get to have. If your crew is really happy with you and they're happy with what's going on, you're going to be able to move more. You'll be able to do more on your turns, which is very important. Also, that depends on how many crew you have. So like you'll notice, like as long as you manage to keep your crew you're well staffed, you're having these 2 actions a turn. And if your morale gets really, really good, you might even have 3. But if it starts dipping down, you have less crew, you're going to have less actions. You can go to planets that would welcome you, and you can go and you can hire more crew. But so like if your crew is being killed off due to whatever calamity that you're encountering, you can replenish it, just like you can repair damage to your ship and what have you. It isn't like once you lose your crew, you're done. Really, the only way you lose the game is either you run out of time to complete your mission, or you have your hull, and if you actually run out of hit points, basically the hull of your ship, then your ship explodes, obviously, and you failed in your mission. But anyway, so and then then you also have salvage, and as you increase as you get salvage, you're able to use those things. You can sell them at trading posts. You can use it to help repair your ship, things like that. Also, I should mention that this is a game that I played solo a lot. I think this game is superb as a solo game. You kind of get to decide everything and make the decisions. However, I did play it with the 3-player game quite a few times, and since it's not, how do I even describe this? It's a cooperative game, in the fact that everybody is kind of working together and trying to decide what's the best thing to do. But this isn't a game where each person takes a turn, so to speak. You're kind of all doing the same thing simultaneously, and you're all deciding what's the best thing to do in any given situation. And depending upon the players and the number of players you have them in control of certain things. So if you have 3 players, one person is in charge of weapons, another person is in charge of the bridge, one person's in charge of the hangar. And so, and if you playing by yourself, you control this. Playing with 2 players, one person takes these 2, and that person takes this one. You split them up however you want. You don't even have to split them up, honestly. You as a group can just decide. And then when it comes down to, this is a game of target numbers, where oh, well, we need to defeat this particular ship that we're fighting, and in order to damage it, we need to roll a d6, add our bonus, and then succeed. And they do have the rule of 6 and the rule of 1. No matter what your minus is, if you have a minus a billion to your roll, if you roll a 6, you still succeed, and if you have a plus a billion and you roll a 1, you still fail. So whenever you roll the die, that would always succeed, because I rolled a 6, right? All right, so You're going to have different crew members that are going to be able to do certain things for you. They have both like a side that like hasn't been upgraded yet. Like this one, he is like, as you can see, like he has this little 1 stripe. But like if you upgrade him, he goes up to 3 stripes. And it kind of tells you, and because of like he's an engineer, so he's probably good not at like in the bridge, right? That's not where you want him working. And then he has these different skills over here, and each one of those skills represents a certain ability, and so you can see 3, 3, 2, 1. Let's see if he increases, if he levels. So I'm sorry, that's the increase. And like first level, he's a 3, 2, 1, 1. And so then each of them have like a little special ability. Engineer, he has like a little, of course, flavor text. Let me just do that in a minute. Pull this, press this, voila. And system affinity, exhaust. Daisuke to reduce energy costs by 1 on a target system. So he has that special ability. And this number up here is how much it costs to recruit him. So Ironclad is not a like a Federation ship or something like that. It is a ship of mercenaries, and you have to pay them for them to work for you. So in the beginning of each mission, it'll actually tell you which characters are available for you to hire, and then you and the other players, or if you're just by yourself, you'll decide, you'll pick which ones you want due to the that they have. Now, you notice that they said exhaust. Now, this isn't a game where you like turn it or whatever for when you exhaust somebody. You actually have tokens. So you have these tokens that like this shows that they're exhausted, and and this shows that they are wounded. So when somebody gets exhausted, you'll put this token on them, and until they rest, they can't, they'll have this token on them. You can use them again, and if you use them again, then they actually become wounded. And when they become wounded, then you have to actually get them to a med bay or something. Like if you happen to have been upgraded your ship to include a med bay, then you can obviously take an action to heal them in there. Or when you're at a planet or like a friendly trading post or something like that, if they have the facilities there that allow you to do that, you could take advantage of that in there. So ultimately, what happens is on your turn, you will move, and you will I shouldn't say you move. You can, if you want to, you can do a scan, which will allow you to see what a nearby intel is, which is a good idea sometimes, because then it tells you oh, well, I know what to expect when I go there. But remember, you're usually racing against the clock, and so you have to kind of say, well, we have to get someplace by this amount of time, or we have to complete this objective by this amount of time. If I'm going to be using one of my 2 actions that I have every turn to scan and then move, I might not be able to help them, because a lot of times what's going to happen is you're going to exhaust a lot of these people that you have working for you, and you're going to want to use a rest action, because that will allow all of them to rest, and then you'll be able to be used the next turn. So ultimately what happens in the game is that when you move to a spot, either you've scanned it and you found out, or you'll turn it over and you'll see what you have. And so here you have the result of sickness. And so what you're going to do then, and when you find sickness, is you're going to go through this cards, and I'm going to try to find sickness here quickly. And when you find it, then you're going to have that. So basically, obviously, people got sick on your ship. So here we have sickness. It's an event. Exhaust, wound a hero in each system, and then you're going to roll a die. And then see how badly it is, depending on it. And so, if you roll a 6, it would be just a cold. But you can exhaust a diplomat or any hero with this symbol to ignore one of these losses. And then medical bay, you can ignore that loss as well. And so then you would have to roll and see what happens. And that's just the bad luck of having that occur to you. And there's all kinds of these things. There's space leeches. You can actually have good things like a trading post. You can have things like a derelict ship. which you can use to, like go and investigate it and see if like you can, maybe find some scrap or something, and so like sabotage or alien infestation, all kinds of things like that. And you're going to experience them. Now, a lot of these things will say, test certain characteristics. So what you'll do then is like you'll find a character that you have that works for you. Let me just grab another one here and I'll show you. So let's say, we had Gabrielle, and like we had to test, their command, so that is like a 3 or whatever. You're going to be rolling like a d6 to that, and you would add that to the roll. Like I said, this is a target number game where you're going to be looking for that result. Now I should mention that on this spot also there is this spot that says a solar flare, and so on this card there are like all the bad things that can happen, and you like the best thing to find is places of open space, where like you can just like there's nothing that you have to deal with or anything like that, and you want to try to get that because you don't want to deal with these. But then a solar flare, you're going to take a bunch of damage, a bit because you're traveling through a high heat, high radiation area when you do that. Flare, that's a -1 crew that you're going to lose because your ship got blasted by the solar, which it's kind of awful when you think about it that you're like sending them there, but it's going to happen. But and then you're going to roll like 2 points of damage that will occur to the Ironclad, and then it says exhaust a hero as well. So when you roll, there is actually this number here that will tell you when you roll the die, it'll tell you which spots you damage. And then sometimes you'll damage the hull, but if you damage say like the weapons area, you'll actually replace the weapon so that this would be with 2 or 3 damage, and that's with 4 or 5 damage. So and then you would put that over there like so, and then you can see that it has a -1 to the characteristic for accuracy if you're using weapons. Now when you repair those, like you would take those off, and so when you repair it, and you would, and if you get to 4 or 5 points of damage, you would flip it over, and you keep track just by having a little marker to keep track of that. Once something has 5 points of damage, you can't damage it anymore. You can't destroy it. All the damage that would go to that just would go to the hull and would reduce the hull hit points. So obviously you want to heal these as quickly as possible. So you aren't going to you're going to have you're not going to have any of the negatives, but you're not going to be and have the possibility of damaging the hull of the ship when you're doing that. So I want to talk about the campaign here really quickly, because I want to kind of show a couple of things that are kind of cool that I thought. So and I'm gonna hopefully find it quickly. So some of these things, if I can find it here, no, derelict ship. I'm looking for one like the Objective A or Objective B. Okay, so here's one that says Objective B. So let's say you find that, and so because these are stories that are created and told. So, I should mention, like at the beginning, there's like these 2 different stories. So basically, your crew, you are a bit of a scoundrel, I guess would be the word I would use. So you're contacted to deliver cargo to Olinth, and you're supposed to get to Olinth, and then once you get to Olinth, you will earn 50 credits for doing so. But immediately after that, you're contacted, by the Gaia Federation, and they tell you, we know that you've been told to deliver that. If you deliver it to us instead here in Thea, we'll give you 40 credits, but also we'll absolve you of your crimes and give you a letter of marque, and then now you can work for us. And obviously these are choices that are going to affect you later on. So okay, so you're going to decide one or the other. You're going and you can decide which path you're going to take, and you're trying to assess. But they have little side missions, and I like these things. So the side missions, like Objective B says, the comm officer relayed an incoming message. I am Corporation Engineer Class B Philpa. My sensors indicate that your cargo hold contains an artifact of interest. If you would allow me a few hours to study said artifact, I'm willing to reward your patience. So if you say yes, you get a +1 to corporate reputation. You lose an action, you gain 5 credits. If you no, you get -1 corporate reputation, and that will affect you later on. And so, like, here's a side mission A. Like, if you find that distress signal, when you move in the sector with objective A intel token, Ironclad's comm officer picks up a scrambled distress call. The badly damaged respond to this call will resolve a system failure operation, or you can leave the system. If you succeed, like, it has this thing where basically it says this hero shows up and says, thank you for, like, saving me. You gain 1 salvage, and the hero Ulysses joins your roster. And so here, and I'll show you, like, and Ulysses is obviously, like, he's actually really, really good. And so, like, he's this robot guy, and he joins you. Now, these are things that are just part of the story and part of the campaign that I really, really liked. I really, really appreciated the fact that, it has that narrative, and it, like, feels like, you're, I mean, I hate to say it, but you're, like, watching one of your favorite, like, space TV shows or space movies, because it has those things. Now, I'm going to talk about space combat here in just a quick second, but, so eventually, you're going to pick one or the other, and hopefully you'll get there before time runs out. And when you get there, what's going to happen is that, so you're either going to choose to deliver to Olinth, or you're going to choose to deliver to the Federation. And then they tell you exactly, so if you go to Thea, they tell you what happens there, and if you go to here, they tell you what happens at Olinth. And I'm not going to, I suppose you could pause the video and read it, but I mean, it is never going to go exactly as you planned. And so you resolve the end of that, and like I mean, spoiler alert, if you get to Olinth, a Federation ship basically flies in and attacks you, trying to stop you from delivering what you have. And so you get to, you have to fight them. And so then it even tells you, you cannot evade the encounter. You now face one, like, what does it say? Hermotor battleship. And so then if that's the case, you're going to go through, you have all these cards here that eventually, you find the Hermotor battleship and you do battle with them. Let me get that one guy out for you. All right, so there you go. So, and then you would have to do a space battle with this person. Now, the cool thing about combat, in my opinion, is that it's all kind of just you rolling the dice for yourself. So it tells you exactly what they do. Tactics are that it attacks. Target priority is a capital ship, because you can, even though you have weapon systems and you have big giant guns on the Ironclad, you can, get these cool little ships that are in your hangar, and also mechs in your hangar that you can use to fight for you. And a lot of times you'll use those because of the fact that there's going to be, you're going to be fighting other little ships that, are going to, like, here is, like, the fighter squadron that you'll be up against. So, you'll want little ships to help. And obviously little ships can help fight against big ships as well. And there are, elite ones as well, so even better ones. And so you have, its target priority is the capital ship. So if you had little ships, that wouldn't be their priority. And once per phase, attack all fighters and mechs with an attack. So that has a missile swarm attack. So if you do have those little fighters, they could do that. And so the whole thing is that you're trying to, eventually do enough damage, one by one, and and eventually, like, destroy this before it destroys you. Now, the way combat works is that so it has, like, different stats, and it'll tell you exactly, like, how much, its accuracy and whatever like that. And then, but your ship has, like, its own weapon systems that it uses to attack. And when it attacks, you're, once again, rolling the d6. If, depending upon, like, which one of your, heroes is running the weapon system, you will have bonuses for that. You will have, and then, like, and you will possibly, maybe you upgraded, because you can. One of the cool things about this game is as you progress, you will be able to upgrade your ship. You'll be able to upgrade your crew and spend the money. So once again, it's a campaign. You have, like, this, you can actually feel like there's a progression. But you're going to roll a d6, and what you're going to be doing is adding up all the factors that you have, and you're going to be trying to defeat the ship's evade chance for your attack. And so, like, here, like, you can see this little token right there, that is the evasion. So we'd have to roll higher than a 7 to hit it and do damage. And if we're able to do that, it has a 5 hull. Now, we don't roll, when this attacks, we don't actually roll like an attack for the Hermidor. What we do is we roll our evasion for our particular, and once again, that is affected by any equipment that we might have for our ship. We would have any bonuses we might get from any gear that we have or anything else that we'd be using, and and of course like the pilot that we have, the hero that we have that's piloting the ship on the bridge at that point. And then we would have to defeat the accuracy level of this, which would be this 8, and so then you can see there's 2 damage. And so if you're able to, so it's just instead of having to keep track of the attacks and all the different aspects of the thing that's fighting you, all you're doing is you're rolling. Okay, so our attack, you roll your attack to see how good you bonus. Okay, we did damage. You do damage to it, and then okay, now it attacks us, and so let's roll our evasion. And so okay, we evaded the damage. Great, super, and so. Unlike a lot of other games that I've played that have space combat with a lot of different statistics, sometimes those can be really long, drawn-out affairs. But because of the fact that you're not doing anything other than just basically rolling for what you have on your particular ship, then they do click by really quickly. And once again, I think this is one of those things where, yes, this game will work with 3 players, but I really found this game to really shine as a solo game. So once you get done and you succeed in the campaign, what you'll do is you'll have a debriefing. And you will, you'll determine what you have as far as mission accomplished, and then so if you deliver to the cartel, you get a bonus to cartel reputation, but then you lose reputation for these. You have mission accomplished Federation, and so on and so forth. You'll check all of those things off, and you'll see where you're at as far as that goes. And then, you have little bonuses. So, did you complete the mission in 7 turns or less? And you gain a bonus reputation from your employer. Exploration reveal either via recon or move actions 12 tokens. And so you get 2 free recon actions at the start of the next scenario. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things like that. And if you salvation is complete the side mission. Now, and then, I'm going to turn this and so you can have it. You have a campaign log that you can keep track of, that you'll keep track of your reputation over here. You keep track of all the things that are happening, and this will be, and obviously you can photocopy this and make as many copies of this as you want, but you can keep track of how well you're doing. And then if you can get through all 10 missions, then you can see where you ended up. You can have that story of your crew and what you did and what you accomplished and all the places you did along the way. And and then you can rewrite the story. In a way, this kind of weirdly reminds me a little bit of some of those older war games, those solo war games I played, like B-17, Queen of the Skies. It reminds me of Struggle of the Galactic Empire a little bit. Solo games that I've played a lot myself, that have a narrative that I go through, that keeps me coming back win or lose, because I like the story that unfolds as I'm playing it. So let me talk more about that in the game itself in my final thoughts. Alright, thank you very much for learning how to play, or at least a good overview. This is a tough game to kind of show you everything. There's just a lot of different cards and a lot of different components that have all these different factors. The big thing is that you will your heroes will have all these different abilities that they'll have, Gabriel, the Marine Captain, exhaust Gabriel to any to add +2 to a certain attribute, and you'll have a lot of these, right? Even you'll have I believe, if I remember correctly, you get 40 coins, that first mission to hire your crew for the first one. And, and these guys, can be expensive, Gabriel's worth 5 or things like that, but they're 3, 2, 4, things like that. And so with, even with 3 people playing, I mean, that's, 13 each, to decide, and, you all decide together. And so you're going to be putting them into those 3 different locations, and having them work. So so you are going to have lots of different options as far as, you know, the people that you're going to hire and people that you're going to have do what they're going to do. So you're going to be using a lot of like these little special powers they have, you know, and so you know, and just. And that's one of the things I like about it, is the fact that like you can kind of look at the mission that you got coming up, and like you kind of look over all these people and you get to choose and decide. And I think that's where the game kind of lends itself to the fact that I want to come back and play it even after I've gone through different campaigns. And like I said, I haven't played the full campaign because I don't have access to it. I really want to see what happens. But after I get the game, because I'm going to back this and I'm going to get a copy, is that I want to play the whole thing. And then I want to like be able to reflect on that, and then I want to start over, and I want to do it differently, and I want to see what changed. And my references to like Squadron Leader, I didn't mention Squadron Leader. I mentioned B-17. You know, like I played a lot of that when I was younger. I really liked that game, and it was just one of those things because it was so tough to like. To get all the missions done with the B-17, and I don't want to do a review of the B-17 Flying Fortress, but it was very tough to win. But even if like your plane got shot down and all your crew died on like mission 11, you still had a story. You still had a thing that you did, and I liked reflecting upon that story, and I liked, you know, like thinking about like that whole process. And the same thing goes with this. I mean, it's like you might not get through all 10 missions, and the thing is, the game can be very tough. You know, you can get kind of whammied a little bit, and you'll be in situations where you've taken a lot of environmental damage, and you've just had some bad luck with different random encounters that you've had, and so you can kind of get behind the 8 ball on some stuff, and you know, whereas I've only had the Ironclad blow up in me, I think, twice, and all the times that I played it. You know, you definitely have different levels of success. You have situations where, like, yeah, that was really simple. We made it to the other side, and we delivered our cargo really quickly, and we had little to no fuss the whole way. And sometimes you come limping in, you know, a battered shell of the ship that you had in the first place. But each one of those is a good narrative. It's like it's a cool storyline, right? And the nice thing is that even after, like, I get the full campaign for the game, and I play through it, and maybe I play through it 5 times, and I'm like, okay, now I've seen this. How easy is it going to be for the designer to just say, okay, you know, here's the next campaign, here's the new thing, you know, just here's the new storyline, maybe some new cards for some different crew, maybe some new tiles to kind of spice things up a little bit. You know, they don't have to change the mechanisms at all of the game. They can just add in more stuff, and now all of a sudden I got a brand new adventure that I can go on with my Ironclad and with my crew. And like I said, there's enough variability, and there's enough interest, and there's enough of like the movie feel, if you will. Like you playing the action in your head, you can kind of see what's going on, like you can kind of live it. That I just, any worries I had about replayability kind of went out the window as soon as I played it first, because it, like I said, it reminded me a great deal of all those like solo games that I've played in the past that I really enjoyed. And this would definitely, well, it is definitely going to go on my shelf with the rest of those, because those are my rainy day games, and I want to play games like this on my rainy day game days. Rainy day game days. Yeah, there you go. So there's Ironclad. You know, it is a little bit of a beast to look at right away, as far as all the different components and all the different bits and everything like that. But I really like the art. You know, it's a version of the type of anime that I like. I think that's what they're going for. You know, my old Robotech anime that I really enjoyed, or the new Voltron that my son loves, that new Voltron on Netflix, and I do too. I really like the way this looks, and I like the world that the designer has created as well. They've really put a lot of thought and effort into it, and it feels very immersive and rich. And you need that in a game like this, a narrative game like this. So if you are looking for a cooperative experience that you can enjoy, or and the thing that stinks about playing cooperatively is that you got to have them come back, right, to play the next campaign. And for me, it would always be like, oh, well, we played 2, and then we'll play again in a week, and then I've got the game on my shelf and I'm staring at it, and I'm like, you know, I could play the next mission, and they won't care, right? Yeah, I'd want to play the other one. So that's why I think, another reason why I think it works best as a solo game. But regardless, that is Ironclad. You know, if you have any questions about it, please ask away. I'll be happy to try to answer those as best as I can. Thank you very much for the time you took to watch this video, and until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, and I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.